evening. Today is Tuesday, June 30th, 2026. You're listening to CYBER F.M. I'm your host, Arias Thomas, and tonight we're going to be talking about security control categories. We're going to be providing high-level definitions of how these categories fall into NIST frameworks and the CIA Triad. Today's segment is brought to you by the R.S.S.H delivery company, New York's exclusive delivery option. Let's begin.
Listening to CYBER FM, hosted by Arias Thomas.
Good evening. You are listening to CYBER FM. I'm your host, Arias Thomas, and today is Tuesday, June 30th, 2026. Tonight we go deep on the controls that hold the whole house together. Here's what's on the plate tonight. The security control categories, your industry standards, and your control classes, the functional type of controls, the tools of the trade like the firewall and the IPS, and the art of selecting security controls through the holy trinity of this field, which are confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Nothing left out. Let's begin.
Segment number 1, security control categories.
Let's get into the core of tonight's show, the security control categories. We'll build your understanding from the ground up. First, what is a security control? A security control mitigates vulnerabilities and risks to ensure the confidentiality, integrity, availability, non-repudiation, and authentication of data. 5 pillars right there. And security controls should be selected and deployed in a structured manner using a risk management framework. No guessing, no winging it. Now, where do you find these controls written down? Enter NIST Special Publication 853 Revision 5. This document is formally called Security and Privacy Controls for Federal Information Systems and Organizations. And here's the real-world truth. As a working cybersecurity professional, you'll be reaching for this document constantly when you're selecting controls. It's a resource you'll lean on for years. And to make life easier, 853 organizes everything into 18 families of control so you can actually find what you need. A few examples of these families are access control, labeled AC, accountability, labeled AA, incident response, labeled IR, and risk management, labeled RA. Now, NIST isn't the only game on the planet. There's also ISO 27001, an international standard and a proprietary framework. Good to know it's out there.
Segment number 2, control classes, the classic 3.
Here's a little history with a twist. Earlier versions of NIST SP 853 used classes of controls. 3 of them: technical, operational, and managerial. Let me break them down. So technical controls, also called logical controls, a category of security control that's implemented as a system, hardware, software, or firmware. The machine does the work. Next, operational controls, a category of security control implemented primarily by people rather than by systems. This is what we call humans in the loop. And next, managerial controls, a category of security control that provides oversight of the information system, the big picture, governance. And here's the twist. Newer versions of NIST SP 853 don't use these classes anymore. But, and this is the part that matters, these classifications are still widely referenced across the industry. So every sharp professional keeps them in their back pocket. Know them cold. A couple of quick field notes before we roll on. 1, you don't have to read the entire 853 cover to cover. Keep it close as an excellent on-the-job resource. 2, familiarity over memorization. That's the move that makes you useful on day 1.
Segment number 3, security controls, functional types.
Now let's talk about what controls actually do, the functional types. Start with the big 3. Preventative control, a control that acts to eliminate or reduce the likelihood that an attack can succeed. In other words, stop it before it starts. Next is detective control, a control that may not prevent or deter access, but will identify and record any attempted or successful intrusion. This is the eyes in the logbook. And next, corrective control, a control that acts to eliminate or reduce the impact of an intrusion event. This is cleanup and recovery. And here's a truth bomb to tape to your monitor. No single security is invulnerable. None of them. So the efficiency of a control isn't measured by whether it's unbreakable. It's measured by how long it delays an attack. Time is the metric here. So wait. Beyond preventive, detective, and corrective, there are other control types you need to take note of. And this is physical control, which is a type of security control that acts against in-person intrusion attempts. This is locks, gates, and guards. Next is deterrent control. This is a type of security control that discourages intrusion attempts. Make them think twice. And next, we have compensating control. This is a type of security control that acts as a substitute for a principal control. It's not the top line, but it gives you some protection when you can't deploy the primary. And next we have responsive control, a system that actively monitors for potential vulnerabilities or attacks and then takes action to mitigate them before they can cause damage. We watch and act.
Segment number 4. 2 tools of the trade.
Real quick, 2 pieces of hardware meets strategy you gotta know, which is the firewall, a system that monitors all incoming and outgoing network traffic and blocks what doesn't belong. This is the gatekeeper. And next we have the intrusion prevention system, also known as the IPS. These are devices that monitor network traffic for patterns that indicate an intrusion is occurring, something like a repeated failed login attempt. Spot the pattern, stop the breach.
Segment number 5, selecting security controls.
So we've cataloged the controls. Now the $1 million question: how do you actually select the security controls you want to use? The answer is the CIA Triad, which stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. You make use of CIA to get proper coverage over each of those areas, so you're truly creating security for your system. And here's the key insight: none of these technologies can provide CIA all on its own, but combined they uphold the 3 tenets of security: teamwork, even among the tools. So then, how do you decide which security control you're actually going to apply? Simple answer: deep truth. It depends on the risk. It always depends on the risk. And finally, how do I mitigate that risk? You go back to confidentiality, integrity, and availability. You ask yourself, which part or parts do I already have controls for? And then how can I add controls for what I'm missing so that I either cover all of them or I mitigate whatever can't be fully covered? You have to find the gap, you have to fill the gap, or manage the gap. That's the whole philosophy. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by the R.S.S.H. Delivery Company. And listen close, New York's exclusive delivery option. When the city never sleeps, the R.S.S.H. never stops moving. Exclusive, reliable, New York's own. Whatever you need, wherever you are, the R.S.S.H. delivers it. Think delivery, think R.S.S.H. New York's exclusive delivery option. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the full picture of controls. Let's run it back so it sticks. Briefly, tonight we broke down the security control categories: NIST 853 Ref 5 with its 18 families and ISO 27001. We've covered the classic technical, operational, and managerial classes. We ran the functional types, which were preventative, detective, and corrective, plus physical, deterrent, compensating, and responsive. Okay, we met the firewall and the IPS, and we closed by selecting controls through confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Complete picture, and now it's yours. One more time, none of this reaches your speakers without our sponsor. Tonight's broadcast was brought to you by the R.S.S.H. Delivery Company, New York's exclusive delivery option. I've been your host, Arias Thomas. The date was Tuesday, June 30th, 2026, and this has been CYBER F.M. Stay patched, stay private, and stay secure. Good night.